when you are confronted with things far greater than yourself, this is the famous climber, right? He had to cut his arm off to escape, got himself into trouble, had to cut his arm off. This is why climbing people are really interesting, because you have a direct contact with bad decision making and the consequences. I'm not saying this guy made bad decisions, I'm just using it as a graphic picture. But the main point here is a fine line between being a novice and being an expert when you are confronted with a challenging situation. Okay. And this is a really interesting point, right? So if I get myself into trouble and have to cut my arm off because of my decision, it's different than if you have to cut your arm off because of a decision I made. That is horrific. Never want to be in that position. And yet, obviously, we often grow into the mountains in groups, and it's usually someone who's going to be making the majority of the decisions. Their weights, the moral weights of the decision of this sort of scenario rests with the person that's making the most decisions. That is a serious thing. In the public service, people can make shitty decisions and get away with it. Their careers will blossom. But out in the bush, it's different, right? It's different. This is quite strong beer. I'm getting better as I go. My experience of this night is only getting better. Right. So I'm just going to jump into a couple of risky things, risk concepts. The first thing is this idea of cascade failure. This will be familiar to most people, but it's a thing because we have to study it. So one bad thing happens, sets up a chain reaction, a bunch of other things happen. Usually there is an element of time here, and often the cascade can be quite fast. Often, that's too often, so the second often is that your experience of time is different from the cascade of events. So you're actually going along thinking things are quite okay, but actually in the background they're going from bad to worse very quickly. And there is this distance between my realization of an event and the actual event itself. It's cascade failure. Common mode failure is where one bad thing happens, knocks out a bunch of subsystems. And those subsystems are dependent on that core system. And so what will happen is like all of a sudden lots of stuff fails immediately. Bang! You don't actually get a chance to prevent the cascade because a whole bunch of things just go out. Like when you lose power, right? Common mode failure. So much stuff ends immediately. You have no chance to really intervene. So both of these apply to decision making. Common mode failure and cascade failure. For me in the bush, I had a cascade failure. A whole bunch of things happened because I made one decision. When I got trapped upside down behind the filing cabinet, that was a common mode failure. A whole bunch of options suddenly exited. I couldn't do a bunch of things immediately. So, for the rest of, how long have I been here? It's about 20 minutes so far, right? For the rest of my short presentation, I'm going to go into some of the things that contribute to common mode and cascade failure. First one is overconfidence. This is General John B. Sedgwick. These were recorded as his last words. They couldn't hit an elephant at this. He's literally, with his guns, this is the American Civil War, looking in his little telescope at those guys, the other side. They can't possibly hit us. Obviously they did, because he's dead. This whole thing about overconfidence it's hardwired into us. It's hardwired into our ego. Here is a very a very bright person, to tell us a bit more about why. This is Daniel Kahneman. He wrote the book Thinking Fast and Slow. Really good book, not holiday reading. Don't take it on holiday. I did. Fuck that. I was regretting it, eh? And I thought, well, this would be great to read it on the beach. No, it wasn't. Okay, overconfidence. I will just step through this for a minute. Confidence in a judgment, so confidence in your decision making, or another person's decision making, is not a reasoned evaluation of probability that the judgment is correct. It's not. When someone say they are confident of something happening, they are not referring to the probability of that thing occurring. Very, very important. Because this feeling reflects the coherence of information, how easy it is to process that information. It's the coherence bit. What will happen is that you will take in a bunch of evidence into your brain, discard a whole bunch of it because it doesn't fit, put it all together into a beautiful story and go, yes, I can do this. It happens to all of us, all the day, every day. All of us. I said that. Apply beer to a fixed area. Right, so I was certain that I could walk in the dark and cross rivers and all that sort of stuff. I was certain because I built this picture in my head that I could. Right, so basically, restatement of the same point. If someone ever tells you that they're confident of something, it simply means they've got constructed a story in their mind. That's basically it. Unless they are trained how to calculate probability, which most people aren't. Right. What's the lesson? Actually, I'll go straight to that. Learn to use what you know to estimate what you don't. What does that even mean? Can someone do a quick exercise with me? I need a volunteer. You don't have to move. You just have to answer a few questions. Thank you, sir. Right.
He's had some beer.
I have.
He's been in the bottle.
It's right in there. Okay, so this is about the exercise we're about to do. Is in a different form. It's been around since the 50s. It's well tested. The point is, what I'm about to take you through, is that we can learn to recognise our own overconfidence. Sir, on my iPhone 8, how many apps have I downloaded onto it?
10.
No. But the point is estimating an unknown number. So you went straight to a point estimate, which is normal. But what we want to do is estimate a confidence interval. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to set the upper bound. Remember that? This is the upper bound of what we can possibly know. Would there be 10,000 apps on my phone, sir?
No.
Would there be 1,000 apps on my phone?
No.
Would there be 500 apps on my phone?
No.
This is the maximum. Would there be 150?
Possibly.
Ooh. 175?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, we'll keep that there then. At the minimum, would there be 5 apps on my phone?
Yep.
20 apps? Minimum.
Yeah, maybe 25 minutes.
25. So I had about 25 to 175. That'd be about right? Okay. Can you give me 2 reasons why you're